Welcome everybody, it's great to see you all here tonight, and space tonight, the latest in exploration. So good evening cosmic travelers. As you know, I'm Michael Plumstead, your cosmic correspondent. And tonight we're going live from planet Earth with a bulletin that stretches far beyond our atmosphere. This isn't a history lesson. This is about what's unfolding right now. Nations are scrambling to plant their flags. Private companies are racing for contracts. And Mars, Mars is teasing us with secrets it may no longer be able to hide. So, over the next 30 to 40 minutes, I'll be your guide through the latest moves, power plays, and surprises in space exploration. I'll give you the headlines, the behind-the-scenes strategy, and my personal take, as usual, on who's winning, who's bluffing, and who might shock us all. So buckle up. Space isn't quiet anymore. It's buzzing like a newsroom. So from moon races to Martian mysteries, here's what's unfolding now. So, tonight's rundown. First, what nations are actually doing, not what they promised years ago. We'll see who's funding missions and who's launching and who's just talking. Second, there are the private players, including billionaires and scrappy startups who are trying to prove they can deliver what governments stumble on. Thirdly, the big moon showdown, NASA versus China, with others lurking on the sidelines. Fourth, the latest headlines straight from Mars, with rovers sending back tantalizing clues. And finally, the curved balls, the unexpected discoveries and daring experiments that could flip the script. Think of this like your front row seat at the space control room. You're not watching rockets fly by, you're watching the future being negotiated. So, I call this slide the global dinner table where everybody wants a seat. Okay. If you zoom out and look at Earth tonight, you'll see something striking. Dozens of nations now fighting for relevance in space. It's no longer just the US and Russia. The Artemis Accords have 56 signatories, more than half the planet. So countries like India, the UAE, South Korea, and even smaller states want their logo stamped on a spacecraft. Think of it like a giant dinner table. The US brings the turkey, while China cooks its own feast across the hall. Europe brings dessert, and the newcomers sneak in with side dishes. But every nation wants to say, "We were there." It's a mix of prestige, technology, and, let's be honest, business. Whoever controls access to the moon's resources or Mars' secrets controls more than bragging rights. They control the future economy. So, balancing moon dreams with earthly responsibilities is often a question that's being asked. NASA is walking a tightrope. On one hand, they're preparing Artemis 2, which will take humans around the moon, and Artemis 3, which is supposed to land astronauts by 2027. Just weeks ago, they named the Orion spacecraft Integrity. It is rather a poetic name, but it's also a promise they can't afford to break. On the other hand, NASA's also watching Earth. They launch satellites to track solar storms because of one bad flare could knock out power grids across the world. This is the dual face of NASA today. One eye on exploration and the other protecting our home planet. My take? NASA must land people on the moon first to maintain its credibility. If they stumble, rivals will pounce. The US may still have the biggest budget, but in space, money alone doesn't guarantee success. I'm going to show you a video now.
We need to celebrate this moment in human history, because Artemis 2 is more than a mission to the moon and back. It's more than a mission that has to happen before we send people to the surface of the moon. It is the next step on the journey that gets humanity to Mars.
When we hear those words, we have touchdown, it's our next step to understanding how the moon formed, that next move to land humans.
You've got to see the X-59 because it is one cool airplane. We continue modification to the aircraft that will become the X-66.
When you have a space mission into an unknown place, you find remarkable things that you did not anticipate.
This mission is going to be game-changing.
Virtually everybody on this Earth is going to be affected by the science data that NISAR is going to return.
At any given moment, we have 140 active missions across the solar system. NASA science is literally everywhere. Science enables exploration, and exploration enables science.
Right, let's move on. Get our slides back. Quiet moves that, and that quietness could change the cosmic scoreboard. China doesn't flood the press with drama. They let their missions do the talking. Right now, CNSA is aiming for a crewed moon landing before 2030. They're already returned their lunar samples while NASA is still planning. And they're pushing forward on Mars exploration with talk of a T13 sample return that could beat NASA's timeline. So China plays the long game. It's less about PR and more about making a statement. We can do this without you. My opinion, if China returns Mars samples before the US, it won't take just a scientific win. It'll be a geopolitical earthquake. The quiet efficiency of their space program is unnerving to competitors, and they don't show their cards until it's too late to catch up. Welcome to Melinda as well into the class. Right, India and Asia doing with, or shall we say doing more with less, okay? A space power on the rise. India is rewiring and rewriting the rule book. With a budget far smaller than NASA or China, they've managed historic lunar landings and are preparing for Chandra 4, a sample return mission. Can you believe that? They're also teaming up with Japan's JAXA for the LUPEX rover. This collaboration gives them reach beyond their own hardware. What makes India fascinating is their efficiency. It's the classic story of running a Ferrari on a budget of a bicycle. And it's working. In a decade, India's gone from ambitious newcomer to serious player. My take? If the moon becomes a marketplace, India won't be just a customer. They'll be a shopkeeper, making their own rules. So, Europe and allies. From supporting roles to building real estate on the moon. Europe has long been seen as NASA's sidekick, but now they're stepping out of the shadows. Italy and Thales Alenia are building models for a lunar outpost under Artemis. These aren't just science experiments, they're potential living spaces for astronauts. Imagine Europe building the first apartments on the moon. Sure, they'll be cramped and dusty and far from luxury condos, but symbolically it's powerful. Europe is saying, we're not just passengers, we're builders. My view? These lunar modules will be tested like never before. Radiation, micrometeorites, and the ever-dangerous moon dust. If Europe's tech holds, they'll cement a reputation as indispensable engineers in the cosmic community. Let me show you a video.
The Artemis program envisions more than just brief visits to the moon. It aims to establish a sustained human presence. This means creating a place where astronauts can live and work for extended periods. Artemis Base Camp. Located near the lunar South Pole, Artemis Base Camp will be a hub of activity. Astronauts will live and work in pressurized modules, venturing out to conduct research and explore the surrounding area. The base will be equipped with everything needed for long-duration missions, from living quarters and science labs to power generation and communication systems. Artemis Base Camp will be a stepping stone for further exploration. It will serve as a testing ground for technologies and strategies for living and working on other celestial bodies, such as Mars. The lessons learned from building and operating a lunar base will be invaluable as we venture further into the cosmos. The base will be built gradually, with each mission adding new components and capabilities. This incremental approach allows for flexibility and ensures that the base is designed to meet the evolving needs of the Artemis program. The Artemis program is not just about the moon, it's about a much grander vision sending humans to Mars. The moon serves as a stepping stone, a proving ground for the technologies and strategies needed for deep space missions. By establishing a sustainable presence on the moon, we can test and refine technologies for life support, radiation shielding, and in-situ resource utilization. The moon's proximity to Earth allows for easier communication and support, making it an ideal testing ground for Mars missions, which will involve much longer communication delays and greater isolation. The experience gained from operating Artemis Base Camp will be invaluable for designing and building a future Martian base. The challenges of living and working on the moon, from dealing with dust to managing resources, will provide valuable lessons for overcoming the obstacles of a Martian mission. The Artemis program is a crucial step in our journey to Mars. It is a testament to human ambition and ingenuity, and it paves the way for a future where humanity explores the cosmos, not just as visitors, but as a species with a permanent presence among the stars. The Artemis program is more than just a series of missions, It is a testament to the enduring human spirit of exploration. It is a bold leap into the future, one that promises to reshape our understanding of our place in the universe. As we venture back to the moon, we are not just planting a flag and leaving, we are building a foundation for a sustainable human presence in space. We are learning to live and work on another celestial body, pushing the boundaries of technology and human ingenuity. The Artemis generation, inspired by the achievements of those who came before, is poised to take humanity further than ever before. The moon is just the first step. The knowledge and experience gained from Artemis will pave the way for even more ambitious missions, including sending humans to Mars and beyond. The future of humanity lies among the stars. The Artemis program is a beacon, guiding us towards a future where we explore the cosmos, not just as visitors, but as a species with a permanent presence among the wonders of the universe. Thank you for joining us on this journey into NASA.
Right. Let me get the slides back up and running. So let's talk about the private sector now. They're no longer hitchhikers, okay? They're now driving the space bus. You know, once upon a time, private companies were just suppliers to NASA. Today, they're leading missions. SpaceX is pushing Starship. Blue Origin is building Blue Moon landers. Firefly delivered its Blue Ghost to the moon, and firms like Astrobotic and Intuitive Machines are setting records. Even Japan, iSpace is on the scoreboard. This is capitalism with rocket fuel. My take? Private space is scrappy, daring, and sometimes reckless. They can fail fast, pivot fast, but win big. So governments may still hold the keys to astronauts, but private players are taking over the cargo bay. The space bus isn't driven by bureaucrats anymore. It's driven by entrepreneurs, and that's both thrilling and terrifying. Moon landings. Okay, first commercial touchdowns. The scoreboard is heating up. This year we've witnessed history. Firefly's Blue Ghost became the first fully successful commercial lander on the moon. That's a milestone. The first time a private company, not a nation, nailed a lunar landing. And there's more coming. Astrobic's Griffin lander, Intuitive Machines IM-3, and iSpace Hakuto R2. They're all coming. Suddenly the scoreboard is alive. There's no longer NASA versus China. It's Firefly, SpaceX, Blue Origin crashing the party. My commentary? Those who constantly achieve reliable landings will dominate future lunar contracts. Firefly may have fired the starter pistol, but the real marathon has just begun. So, the human moon race. Hey, is the 2027 promise or the 2030 going to actually be the first one? This is one of that everybody is watching. NASA plans to launch Artemis 3 around in 2027 to put humans back on the moon for the first time since the Apollo missions. China says they'll do it by 2030. Both sides are building landers, testing rockets, and training crews. And only yesterday we got some news from SpaceX that they might still be the first ones, even next year. Okay. So who plants the first flag? My prediction, NASA will beat China, but the margin could be razor thin And let's not ignore the possibility of a private firm, shall we say, sneaking into the headlines, as we've just heard. Imagine the shock if a billionaire's company sent humans first. That would change everything. This isn't just about science. It's about narrative, prestige, and who owns the story of humanity's return to the moon. So, over to Mars we go. Whispers of water, hints of life, and an aurora show. Mars is teasing us. Perseverance has found rocks altered by water, sulfides, and traces of organic chemistry. We've seen ripples in dunes that suggest shifting winds, and even an aurora captured from the Martian surface. These aren't smoking guns, but they're fingerprints. To scientists, they're cautious clues. To me, they're whispers of a story that's almost too big to say aloud. Mars once held conditions for life. We're itching closer to confirmation. My take? Within the decade, we may stop asking, was there life on Mars? And start asking, how much and when did it vanish? That's the real game changer. The race to bring red planet relics back home? NASA has dreamed of bringing Mars samples back for decades now. However, delays and budget fights continue to push the date further away. China's Tianwen-3, however, is aiming to pull it off earlier. Imagine the power of holding Martian rocks in a Beijing lab before NASA has theirs. It could be more a science milestone. It could shift the balance of space prestige. My opinion, China's simpler, focused plan may actually outpace NASA's larger, slower project. Whoever wins this race won't just own rocks, they'll own the headlines and the scientific spotlight. Interstellar guests and lunar power plays. Space always has a surprise. This year, an interstellar comet, 31/Atlas, is passing near Mars, and agencies are scrambling to observe it. Meanwhile, Honda is working on a regenerative fuel cells to power lunar bases, energy systems that could transform off-Earth survival. These aren't the top-line missions, but they could be the biggest disruptors. Interstellar objects remind us that the universe doesn't follow our schedules. Breakthroughs in energy could determine whether lunar habitats thrive or fail. My opinion? Don't underestimate the wild cards. They often end up rewriting history. So let me show you another video. We've got time. Yeah, time seems to be going all right.
NASA's Artemis program. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more stories about the future of space exploration. Together, we'll reach for the stars.
That's not what I wanted. We've had that one. Okay, we want to... There's the one I want.
Private companies in its Lunar program, an important move to break the dominance of state-owned enterprises and speed up technological development. Between 2015 and 2024, China clearly ramped up its lunar and deep space efforts, which would have required much larger budgets and stronger government backing. Experts believe this trend is only going to continue, especially with rising investment across both civil and military space programs. One report from Euroconsult estimated that China's total government space spending reached nearly $20 billion in 2024, with consistent growth each year since at least 2020. During that same period, government-backed investments in private space companies also shot up, jumping from 48% of all space investment in 2020 to a whopping 79% in 2024. We're now seeing real signs of public-private collaboration taking shape. Companies like Star Vision Aerospace Group Limited is working on things like satellite design, advanced AI for data analysis, and next-gen satellite systems, all of which are expected to play a role in future missions like Chang'e 8. That shows China is serious about giving the private sector a place in its long-term space plans. In fact, China invested $2.86 billion into commercial space ventures just last year, over 17 times the $164 million it spent in 2016. With that kind of funding, progress becomes a lot more straightforward. Just look at NASA. Around 50 years ago, it got nearly 5% of the US national budget to put people on the moon, and it worked. So it's no surprise that China's generous funding is making its space journey look a lot smoother, too. Another big factor in China's space progress is its openness to working with other countries, including Russia, India, and Japan. This collaborative strategy, often referred to as the Space Silk Road, has already led to over 80 joint projects with international partners. According to the researchers, this growing network is starting to erode US influence in the global space scene. There are even some opinions suggesting that China's centralized planning system, along with its more flexible stance on safety and environmental regulations, could actually allow it to move faster than the US, even though America had a big head start in the space race. So, what happens if China lands humans on the moon before the US? That's a question many are asking, including Mike Gold, president of Civil and International Space at Redwire, and one of the key architects behind the Artemis Accords. Let me put it this way. China lands on the moon, and the very next day, they reap huge political benefits, Gold said during a recent hearing. Suddenly, the world's eyes turn to them, not just for space exploration, but for national security partnerships and trade agreements too.
Right. Interesting. There's the race that we're talking about in this class and the consequences of them. Right. One wrong step, billions up in cosmic smoke. Space isn't forgiving. Landers crash, budgets collapse, and radiation cooks electronics. Moon dust clogs engines. Political winds change, and the whole missions are scrapped overnight. These are the risks that hang over every headline we've covered tonight. One wrong step, and billions vanish in seconds. But here's the paradox. Risk is also the ticket price. You don't get giant leaps without giant gambles. My take? The next decade will have both triumphs and spectacular failures, and we'll learn from both. The only guarantee failure is not to try. Okay. So, all right, sit back. Okay, and I'll stick my neck out. Prediction 1. NASA lands humans on the moon first, around 2027. Prediction 2. China beats NASA to a Mars sample return. My prediction 3. A private company shocks us with a stunt so bold we'll hardly believe it. Maybe a surprise lunar-based test or an audacious mission beyond the moon. And here's the kicker. When you look back on this moment, remember I said it. These predictions aren't certain, but they're grounded in momentum. And in space, momentum is everything. So, from wisdom, wonder, and well-being, keep looking up. And that's our broadcast for tonight. From the moon's dust to the Mars whispers, and the race is on, and the headlines will only get wider. So thank you for supporting Wisdom, Wonder, and Well-being. I'm Michael Plumstead, your cosmic correspondent, and signing off until next time. This time, next week, keep wondering, keep exploring, and most of all, keep looking up. Now, what we will do is, there's a few minutes we can, before we get taken out. Let me stop the recording.